it might occur in taking care of animals. So when you have a dog, as you know, you love the dog. The dog loves you back unconditionally. Is that kind of love and empathy for others excellent and girls who are addicted to their devices, or do you think that there's a way to create it?
I think, especially at our school, where a big part of our curriculum and education is on sort of like the social emotional child and being, we really try to talk about empathy as a community in our classes. It's one of the things we talk a ton about in English.
Sure.
I think a big part of English is teaching empathy. But, you know, there are images of sort of girls sitting around a table or sitting at lunch and like everyone has a device. And, you know, maybe sometimes they'll show each other a funny video and they'll connect that way, but oftentimes it feels like there's sort of that barrier of the screen. And a lot of times they're connecting through, you know, after school and stuff, they're connecting through social media mostly and texting instead of person to person. And I think so much comes from a person-to-person connection and interaction that you can't get from a digital space.
And do you think they think that, or do they think it's just interrupting their digital lives?
I don't think they're as comfortable with the idea of not being digital. I think they've grown up in a world where that's been what they're used to. And so I think it's part of our job as teachers is to help them learn and like teach them sort of a different way of connecting, just because it's so natural to them at this point. I think to us, it wasn't kind of how we grew up. And like, you know, the internet came around when I was in high school and like I didn't have my own personal computer, my own personal phone. And it was very different. There was so much more like real physical interaction. So I think it's a different world for them, and I think it's important to help them and to like guide them into other realms of you know, learning and social emotional sort of connection. But I do think, from my own experience and from what I've read and from what I've seen, that the technological world and social media can really become a barrier to connection and a barrier to empathy. And that giving them tools to have conversations and, you know, bring up things to one another that maybe are bothering them outside of that world, and again, like build those friendships in sort of a more tangible way, I think is really important, and it does encourage empathy from what I've seen.
How does the natural world do that?
I mean, I think and I can talk from my own personal experience, I think being in nature and being in a world that's full of life and like different types of life and diversity is really, it's a compelling space for humans to be. I think oftentimes being in a digital world or being in an urban world, you feel very like disconnected from like the earth and from nature. And I know like part of what we have the girls do is go out into nature in different ways in the garden or, you know, on our educational, you know, trips where we go camping, just to sort of like also unplug, but also to sort of be in nature in a because growing up in LA, you don't get that as much.
Right, of course.
You know?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Thanks.
Thanks so much.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button if you'd like to see more videos.